So this afternoon, Cannon Falls Police Department, Ambulance, and Fire Department were dispatched to a house fire here at 1201 First Street North. The call came in as children inside of the apartment and fire visible from the outside. When we arrived, the resident said her children are inside and that she had tried to get them out and had cut her arm in that process. Myself and two of the ambulance crew were the first ones here. We went to the back of the residence, tried to approach the windows to see what was going on. We couldn't see through, so I used my fire extinguisher to break out the windows. The smoke started to billow out. We could tell from one of the rooms a bunk bed. So we broke out another room trying to get some cross ventilation so we could see if the kids were by the bunk beds. What we found was the children inside the living room area. We could see two of them. One of the ambulance people climbed in after we got the glass broken out. I handed them out to myself. I handed them to the other ambulance person. She took the infant. I took the older child. We both went to the ambulance. I went back to the apartment, and by that point fire had arrived and they were starting to try to put fire out. They were manning a hose. I helped them with that. One of the firefighters called for an all stop because he thought he heard something. Found the third child inside, handed him out to me. I brought him out to the front and we started to administer first aid and oxygen. All three children were transported to the Cannon Falls Hospital. The mother was transported to the Regions Hospital. We do not have status on them other than the children were critical and the injury to the mom looked pretty significant. No first responders received injuries. Myself and the two ambulance people inhaled an awful lot of smoke, but we all are doing fairly well right now. The apartment building, unfortunately, is going to be uninhabitable in the short term, and so Red Cross is on scene trying to figure out if they need to do any shelter for residents that are going to be displaced. And one of the children from the apartment was at school. She arrived here to find it. We discovered that one of the other children had been home but was outside and ended up sheltering in the bus. We just didn't know that until a short time ago. So that's a basic rundown of what happened. Right now we're in scene cleanup and trying to determine cause.
Jeff, talk about that moment where you're going in there and just what's going through your mind at that moment.
First thing going through my mind is, where are the children? Are they going to be okay? It's very hard in this line of work. We see a lot of things, but children take a special place. And when we found them and they weren't very responsive, your heart just drops. The good news is we've got fabulous paramedics, fabulous ambulance service, and I knew they were doing everything they possibly could for these children. We got them up to the Cannon Falls Male Health Center Hospital right away, and I know the team up there was doing everything that they could. When we found that third child, I was so glad that we found him and that he was breathing. I don't know the extent of his injuries, but that was a good sign.
After getting those first two children out, were you aware that there was a third child in there?
Yes, Mom was very clear there were three children, and we were trying to find all three.
And was everyone transported by ground ambulance or?
So they all left here on ground ambulance. The children went to the hospital. I believe they went by air ambulance after that.
To?
I would guess probably HCMC. With the amount of smoke, they're going to probably end up with somewhere that could take for barometric treatment.
Is this one of those situations where no time to waste, got to go in?
This was one of those situations where there was no time to waste, but we still have to be safe. ambulance crew wanted to go in sooner than I had the windows completely cleared out. We needed to make sure it was safe for them to go in, so we cleared out the windows so that he could get in there and grab those children and get them out.
Do you know roughly how long it was between the 2 children and mom out and then realizing the third? How long was that period, do you know?
Seemed like an eternity, but I am guessing probably within just a couple of minutes. Fire was here very fast. They got a hose stretched out and started. The one ambulance crew member used to be on the fire department, so he was manning that, trying to knock down some of the stuff. And then the firefighters caught up to go inside to knock it down, and I'm literally feeding them the hose while they're going in, because we can't afford to have that hose kink up and get stuck. So when he called out an all stop and said he found the third child, boy, it was really a powerful moment. Sums it up.
You mentioned one of them was an infant. Do you have an idea
Yes.
roughly of the ages?
So I'm gonna guess on the ages, probably less than a year. Toddlers seem to be probably 18 to 24 months, and I know the older one was 7 from what Mom said.
When it's interesting that the mom, she injured herself trying to rescue her own kids before you got there. Like, that must have been powerful to see her in that moment, like doing, mother's instinct take over, doing everything.
Yeah, when I got here, other residents were tending to her, trying to stop the bleeding. And so the first thing I did was wanted to get to the back to try to figure out if we could get the kids out.
You guys as police officers, talk to me about the training you guys have, because you guys aren't necessarily trained to run into burning buildings. Like
No, we're not
firefighters.
trained into it, but we also, aren't very good at listening to the fire guys who say don't do it. The first thing that came to my mind was that we needed to at least try to see if we could find the kids, and we had to get the glass out to do that. And so I had grabbed my fire extinguisher, and Mom's screaming at me to get back there, and I'm like, no, I got to get my fire extinguisher because I don't know how big it is. And at least if I had that, I could try to knock it down. As it turned out, it was the right tool for knocking out windows.
So you were the first in the actual unit.
Yep, myself and 2 of the ambulance people.
Has it hit you yet that it's likely that you saved people's lives today? I mean,
It didn't hit me until I was talking to the little girl that lives in there and happened to be at school.
it's
And
gotta be a remarkable thing.
yeah, it is. And it's not that I save lives, but it's just part of what we do. And it's one of those things where it'll hit me later, probably when I get back with my family.
Is Cannon Falls a volunteer fire department?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Jeff, I don't know if you have the answer to this here, but does this building have any type of fire suppression system?
I don't know yet. From what I could tell, there were not sprinklers going off, so I don't know what fire suppression or alarm system exists in it yet.
There were 3 windows in the back. Can you walk us through what window
So-
you went in or what you broke out?
Yep. So if you were looking at the back of the building, the one that had the melted siding and everything, that would have been the master bedroom. Next to that would be the secondary bedroom, and then the third one over was the living room.
Can you
So the
follow-
first windows that I saw was the master bedroom and the flames coming out. The second one, I knew the layout of the apartments. I figured that was the bedroom because Mom said they were in the bedroom. So that's the first one I wanted to get broken out to see if I could get a response from the kids.
you actually found the kids in the living
In the living room, correct.
When the mom was talking to you, did she ever let on what she thought might have caused this?
No, she didn't have an idea. And we don't. The fire marshal's on scene. He may be getting some preliminary ideas, but I haven't had a chance to learn from him any of that information.
And just to clarify, the mother wasn't home when the fire started.
The mother was outside and was told that there was a fire in the apartment. And I don't know who called 911 yet, if it was her or somebody else that did.
What's the status of the rest of the building? Did it just affect that one family, or were
So
multiple families
the
displaced?
one apartment is significantly damaged. I assume the apartment directly above it also is. The other apartments are likely going to be damaged from smoke. The fire marshal has deemed that they cannot, it's not habitable tonight. There may be structural components that they're concerned about, and those assessments will go through the next day or two while they figure out that. They are escorting residents in to get some preliminary items that they may need for overnight. Red Cross is on scene, arranging for shelter and stuff for the ones that don't have somewhere to go.
I see you're wearing a body camera.
Yep.
Is there video of this?
Yes, there is. But as you guys know, data practices dictates what's releasable and what's not, and I would guess that this would be considered private data.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Yep.
you, Jeff.
Any other questions you guys have? All right. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate your patience. I know
Yeah.
you guys are